My fellow Jamaicans, the world is reeling from high inflation and geopolitical instability in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic and the invasion of Ukraine. Here in Jamaica, our people are facing food and gas prices that are spiraling out of reach. Many are hungry, anxious, and even depressed. Many are struggling to survive. Some mothers can't find food for their children. Many are sick and can't afford the medication. Many need to travel around but can't afford transportation. The situation is intolerable. I have said it before and I repeat it now. The government must find ways to cushion the crisis. It has a responsibility to protect the people in this time. It is the government's solemn duty to balance people's lives. When it comes to the gas price crisis, we have called time and again for them to get rid of the hedge tax. The government has done nothing. When they tabled the budget in February, I saw that it assumes revenues from an oil price on the world market of US $67.50 a barrel, and that creates an opportunity. The oil price has spiked to over $100 a barrel. So I called on the government to cap the ad valorem tax on fuel to the price that they have used in casting their budget, so that no additional tax is charged on the price above US $67.50 a barrel. This will give motorists a break. It will give transport operators, taximen and buses a break, give commuters a break, and it would take some of the pressure off the fuel price that is driving our light bills up and up. I repeat this call today. Last week, gas went up by $4.50 a litre, and it went up by another $4.50 a litre this week. Something must be done for the people, and it must be done now. Prime Minister, cap the ad valorem SCT on fuel at the price used in the budget. This does not require legislation through Parliament. It can be done today by a ministerial order under the Provisional Collection of Tax Act. And what about the impact of food price inflation on our people? Again, I call on the government to free up more resources to cushion the crisis until the spike in food inflation subsides. How can this be financed? Gently defer the pace of reduction of our debt this year by a mere 2% of GDP, or about $40 billion, and use those resources to balance people's lives through the crisis that is pushing their backs to the wall. Spend that additional $40 billion to increase PATH benefits, increase poor relief, supplement what is being paid to NIS pensioners, and increase the social pension for the elderly who are not receiving anything else. And as we try to restore the severe learning loss that was inflicted on our students during the pandemic, remove all taxes from tablets and laptops for teachers and students. Not only are we facing an inflation crisis, but the government has created another crisis all on its own. It is seeking to drive a major reform of public sector compensation, but what is the nature of this reform? The government wants to discontinue a wide range of non-taxable benefits that have been negotiated with the public sector workers over many years and roll all of those benefits into the workers' taxable salaries. This is a complex undertaking, deeply affecting the livelihoods and morale of over 100,000 Jamaicans. It is not simply a technical exercise of implementing what a consultant has come up with. It needs full consultation with the unions that represent the public sector workers. It needs full transparency. It cannot just be forced on the workers as if they aren't entitled to full respect, equal rights and justice. The government must negotiate with the public sector unions. Instead, Jamaica is seeing an inept and arrogant approach by the government to this reclassification exercise. The trouble began with the announcement by the finance minister that the motor vehicle duty concession would be withdrawn. And that triggered a massive negative reaction in the society. It had not been discussed before, and it took everyone by surprise. It has created anxiety and mistrust. It has caused chaos in the society since then. The National Water Commission workers went on strike, and there was no water in schools, They had to close, businesses had to close, people at home couldn't wash and do what they had to do. Then the air traffic controllers went on strike. The airports were shut down and flights were cancelled and the economy was hit hard. The civil servants, through their union, have given notice of industrial action because the government has ignored their claims for 2021-22 in seeking to roll up their benefits into taxable salary. The public health inspectors are restive, and today the National Housing Trust workers have gone on strike. All this turmoil is reminiscent of 1968 when everything crashed. The arrogance of this government is pushing the country deeper into a crisis of the government's own making. This public sector compensation reclassification exercise has gone off the rails badly. Trust has been damaged because of the failure to treat public sector workers as real partners, deserving of respect, and the failure to share full information with their unions. It is not good enough for the Prime Minister to ask public sector workers to be passively patriotic. It is a deep mistrust by his government's non-transparency and disrespect that has caused industrial unrest and the major disruption not seen in Jamaica for many decades. The government must reset the process. The Prime Minister should acknowledge the mess his government has made of all this. He should publicly commit to a new and better way forward. And that process must have built into it full transparency and genuine negotiations with the public sector unions. It is impatient of debate that this is required to create an atmosphere of trust that can result in a successful reform. This is a reform that is too important to Jamaica's future for it to be derailed by inept political management. I remain willing and able to play a constructive role in support of the process, but until the process changes tack and becomes one of full consultation and equity, we will stand in solidarity with the public sector workers and their unions.